Hello and welcome everybody to another StarCraft tutorial by Glitch. Today I'm going to be covering some of the basic Terran mechanics. This is backed by popular demand. A little while ago I did some basic Zerg mechanics and some little things that you can do to practice your Zerg mechanics, and now because some people asked, I'm going to be putting up one on Terran mechanics. Now, before we start, in case you didn't see my Zerg one, I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer up front. I am not a high-level Terran player. I'm not some super grandmaster Terran player. No, I main Zerg, but I play random on ladder from time to time, and I talk to a bunch of my Terran friends who are master players and above about some of the important mechanics, and sometimes I just try to practice Terran and Protoss mechanics just because, I don't know, I just want something different from time to time. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be throwing everything away that we know about strategy, timing, and all of that kind of stuff today. All we care about is mechanics. So what I'm going to be doing here, I'm now going to be creating a custom game. I'm going to be using Shattered Temple because I just like that map. Going to be selecting that Terran race. Now, this video is focused on most of you guys who are below, I'd say, diamond, maybe even below platinum level, and you're just trying to get into the basics, the super basics of learning StarCraft, something that you can practice to just really get your mechanics all worked out and work out all those kinks. Now, here's my second disclaimer. Day 9 gets all the credit for coming up with this style of practice. This is something I completely learned from Day 9. If you guys want the details and you guys want all the little nitty-gritty details of how to do this kind of practice, watch Day 9 Daily number 360. He really gets into all the that good stuff. But if you guys just want a quick and dirty little video in something that you can just do every day, just like 10 minutes a day to practice a little bit, then this is the video to watch. Alright, let's jump into this game. Alright, I now have this game loaded up, and now before I even start getting these SCVs mining, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about of the technical stuff before we get into talking about mechanics. First thing we're going to talk about is hotkeying locations. This is something that can be very important for Terran players. This is something that a lot of Terran players and Protoss players as well do. And that is, if you go into hotkeys and you click on this global part here and you scroll down, you'll see these buttons called Create Location. And what I hotkey them to is I like to hotkey them to Shift F2, Shift F3, Shift F4, Shift F5, so on and so on. And then you'll see these Jump to Locations, which I hotkey to F2, F3, F4, F5, etc., etc. And what this is going to allow you to do is it's basically going to allow you to go anywhere on the map. Say for whatever reason I want to always be able to jump back to this little piece of land here. What I can do is I can just push Shift F2 right now. Now I'm going to go back to my base. Now all I have to do is push F2 and my camera is just going to jump right back to this spot every single time. What this is very important for is hotkeying your bases, so that once you have your bases hotkeyed up, right now if I just click on my base and I hit Shift F2, now no matter where I am on the map, anytime I need to get back to my base, I can just now push F2 and bam, I am back at my base. Okay. Now that we have hotkeying locations down, I want to talk about one other mechanic that's really important for Terran to be able to do. And that is going to be shift-clicking back to your mineral line after you build a building. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an SCV, and let's build a supply depot at my rank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit B, and I'm going to hit S to build a supply depot. Now, what you can do is you can try to click on the mini-map back to your mineral line, hold Shift, and right-click on a mineral patch, and now, when this SCV is done building that supply depot, he's going to go back to mining. But clicking on the mini-map can be a little bit tedious. So, here's something else you can do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an SCV. Once we've hotkeyed this as a location, once again, I'm going to hotkey this as Shift F2. Bam. Now I'm going to go back down here to this worker. I'm going to build a supply depot right here. Now all I have to do once I start building it is hit F2, Shift, right-click. And that way, this SCV will now always go back to my mineral line every time he starts working. Build worker, F2, Shift, right-click. You really want to be able to get that shift clicking down so that you can always be building things and going right back to your mineral line after, and you won't have idle workers left all over the map. There's one last little mechanic now that I do want to talk about also that can be helpful, and it's surprising how often I come across players that don't know or don't realize that you can do this, and that is when you're building multiple buildings, you can actually just grab a huge chunk of your workers, and now I can just hit BS, 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 and the workers will just all go out there. The closest SCV will go to work, and once again, I can just hit Shift, right-click on my mineral line, and now all of these guys will just go immediately back to the mineral line once they're done building. This is something that I do very frequently for building refineries. I can just grab all my workers, hit BR, BR.
Yeah, whatever.
Ta-da! And just like that, I don't have to select individual SCVs and try to get them to build that way. Very, very helpful in ironing out your mechanics and helping to up your speed a little bit. Alright, now that we've covered some of those basics, we are going to start putting them all to use. Now, once again, I'm not worrying about timing or strategy or building any particular units of any kind. I'm just focusing purely on mechanics right now. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to hotkey my command center to 4, I'm going to hotkey an SCV to 2, and I'm going to send an SCV out to the middle of the map, and the rest of the guys, I'm just going to get them working. Oh, and I'm of course going to rally my command center to my mineral line. So now, all I'm going to do for phase 1, this is for super basic practice. Phase 1, we are just going to move an SCV around the map. We're going to click 4 and hit S to start building workers. And now we're going to keep this worker moving, and every now and then we're just going to click on 4 to check on that command center and see that it is still, whoops, not re-rallying, but building an SCV. Bam! And as soon as that command center is just about to finish its SCV, we're just going to keep building another one. So I'm going to keep just moving around this SCV around, check that command center, SCV, command center, SCV, command center, build another SCV, and then go right back to moving this around. I'm even going to go back right now. I'm going to build a supply depot, shift right click to my mineral patch, go back to my moving SCV, and just keep moving this guy around. Check that command center, checking that command center, and I'm re-rallying everything because I can't actually do this all while I'm talking. God, I'm going to be in so much trouble once I start to add in barracks and things. But for now, this is phase 1, just constantly building SCVs, constantly moving this SCV around the map and building supply depots whenever you get supply blocked, or when you're getting close to supply blocked. Okay, as you can see, I have now added on a barracks as well as my orbital command. So this is going to mean that we have 2 more things that we have to do. We're going to need to mule. We always want to mule right when we get to 50 energy on our orbital command. And we are going to try to produce now out of our barracks and see if I can do this while I talk at the same time. So, right now my barracks is going to be hotkeyed to 5. I prefer to have my barracks hotkeyed to 5, factories to 6, starports to 7, but I know a lot of people like to have their orbital commands to 1. Do whatever hotkeys suit you best. For now, I'm just going to be using what I like to do. So let's see if I can pull this off, alright? We're going to throw down a mule, we're going to go back to my SCV, I'm going to keep building SCVs, and I'm going to build Marines. For S5A. I'm just going to keep moving around with this SCV, and I'm just going to keep checking 4 and 5 this whole time. I see that my SCV is almost done, so I'm going to get another one going. Don't want to queue it up too early, but I'm going to keep checking. Checking 4, checking 5. I see that I do have enough energy for a mule, so I'm going to throw that down. Once again, I'm going to be sure to keep checking all of these things. And you want to do this until you can just do this solid and you don't even have to think about it. There are a couple more things that I want to mention at this point just because we've started to cover some of the basics on how to macro with Terran. What's important to remember at this point is that we're constantly producing out of our barracks and our orbital command. We're constantly muling and we're not getting supply blocked. It is so important that we don't get supply blocked. You always want to be remembering to build those supply depots. But one other question that I have been getting is how do you know when to mule, especially once you start to get on multiple orbital commands? Because if you just have one hotkeyed, you can always just kind of look here and see, oh, well, I've got more than 50 energy, I need to throw down a mule. But once you start to have multiple orbital commands, you can't see the energy anymore without mousing over them. So one way to know is if you select your orbital command, you can look down at this lower Q card here, and if you don't have enough energy, everything down here will turn purple. Here, I'll show you right now. As you can see right now, all of these little pictures are in color, but once I use up my energy,
Not enough.
Now you can see that they've turned purple, and that's one thing that some of my Terran friends do pretty frequently to check on whether he needs to mule or not. Just always hit 4 and just quick glance out of the corner of his eye, just sees if that's purple. If he sees purple, he's happy. If he doesn't see purple, he knows he needs to throw down some mules. Okay, so we just finished Phase 2, where we're building SCVs, we're building Marines out of just one barracks, and we're building depots and muling constantly. Now, all there is to do is add on more production structures. Now that is easier said than done. There are players out there like Select who are good at macroing out of tons and tons of barracks, starports, and factories while dropping in multiple locations at the same time. It can get really hard and really intimidating to start to deal with this. So what you want to do is you want to just start to develop a set of structures that you know you're going for, and you really want to start to program into your head a certain set of units. For example, right now I'm just going to get 2 barracks and I'm going to get a factory here, so that on my barracks I know that I'm going to hit 5 AAD for 2 Marines and a Marauder, and then I'm going to hit 6 S for a siege tank. And that's going to be it. And now I'm going to try to do Phase 4, and that's just doing everything we were doing before, but now multiple barracks and a factory added into the mix. Alright guys, here it goes. This is going to be the ultimate test. This is going to be moving the SCV around while building workers, while building my units out of barracks, building out of my factory, and throwing down enough mules. So we're going to keep moving around the SCV. Checking 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. And I saw that I need more SCVs. Gonna keep building SCVs and just keep checking those other structures for production. And you are just gonna keep doing this until you get really good at it. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. As you can see, I am nowhere near as proficient at this as Select is, or some of those other top players, but this is the kind of mechanics practice that you really want to get in if you want to be able to play your race efficiently. So, I hope that helped some of you guys out there. I hope some of you guys will have learned something from that. Like I said, this is not going to be aimed at you guys that are already in Diamond or Master levels. This is aimed more at you lower level players that are just maybe in Bronze League, Silver League, Platinum League, trying to figure out what you need to do to get your play to really get up to that Diamond League before you really start to focus on strategy. You really want to get all of these mechanics type things ironed out, and if you do really get these mechanics things ironed out, and I promise you if you practice this for say 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, then I promise you will shoot straight up to at least Platinum just by worrying about mechanics and constantly building SCVs and army units all the time. Hope that helped. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and that is going to do it for me. Glitch out.